Well, good afternoon, everybody. I've been delighted to be invited by Clive Branson to give a little talk, a Q&A session, and a description of my life in match fishing to date. My name's Howard Kaye. A lot of you will know me, I know a lot of you, and some of you won't, but hopefully any questions that you have, I will, during the course of what will be about 40 minutes, I'll be able to answer those as they come in. So I hope you're all well. You've all come through the lockdown unscathed, and all your families are well. Certainly, it's been a difficult time for us as anglers, but now we have the green light to fish again, and we have the green light also to begin match fishing again, which is obviously my first love. Just a little background on me. I'm chairman of Evesham and District Angling Association. I'm also a tackle dealer. I'm a tackle dealer at Manor Farm Leisure Lakes, which is in Harvington, just outside Evesham. Very well known, very good commercial fishery in the heart of Worcestershire. I'm also been named as the England Under-20s manager this year. Unfortunately, as circumstances they've actually prevented us from having an Under-20s World Champs this year, but we'll be regrouping for next year. I'm also in the squad for the England Masters side, which is 55 to 65-year-old age group, and we were due to be in Slovenia now. However, it looks like we're rescheduling now for October, so whilst I have no anticipation of getting in the side, I'll certainly be in Slovenia with a look to the future. But again, thank you all very much for watching, and I have a lot of things to discuss with you and plenty of time to answer your questions. But my background in fishing started I'm 59 now, and I think I was 10 years old. My mother and father sadly were divorced, but my grandmother lived in Skegness, so we used to go and visit her because I was living in Lincoln at the time, and my father used to take us there, and we always wanted to have a go at fishing, so he took us to Palmer's Fishing Tackle Shop, as it was then, a little side street in Skegness. We purchased identical kits, and they were black bamboo with a green solid fiberglass top, probably 9 feet long, little Intrepid black prince reel, a few floats, a few maggots, and off we went. We went to Holland's Pit, which I discover is still there, and it's somewhere between Skegness and Wainfleet, so I could probably find it eventually. But we proceeded to fish away, sitting there with our little 9-foot rods, and both myself and my brother managed to catch one little roach each, and the smell of the roach on my hand is something that I will never forget, and every time I catch a roach now, it's still there. And the magic of that first session we ever had, both myself and my brother Tim, is still there. And now we progressed. We were living in Lincoln, as I've said, and Mum used to then take us fishing down to Washingborough on the River Witham, and we had the Sinsel drain there. And very quickly sort of the interest progressed, and as did our ability to start catching some fish. And I think from there on, my next rod was, I think it was a Shakespeare Alpha, or it could have been a Shakespeare Match International, something like that. But within sort of 2 years, we were fishing 3 times a week after school. I remember even in March, as the close season was coming, then we'd be picked up from school and we'd fish for 2 hours, in freezing cold in March until night time prevented us from doing it. Where we lived on Bunkers Hill in Lincoln, there was a tackle shop open called Boundary. It was Boundary Pet Stores, run by Pat and Mike Brown. Now it's no longer a shop, but they effectively took both myself and my brother under their wing, and we started to venture further afield, quite often on the Witham at Southery. We went up to Kirkstead, Stixwell, places like this. I managed to acquire an Ernie Stamford swing tip rod, I think it was, 10-foot swing tip rod. So we started to learn the arts of ledgering. And very soon after that, match fishing started. And back in the day, with Lincoln, the District Angling Association, they used to have the annual juvenile match with 130 kids in it, everybody getting a prize because they're all sponsored to a greater or lesser degree by lots of all the tackle shops. There were probably 6 tackle shops in Lincoln at the time. And so we started to fish competitively, and we started to do really well. And we learned, I mean, Lincoln at the time, and still to a point now, was a hotbed of match angling. The attendance on the River Witham, the Kirkstead stretch, in an open match would be 300 plus. The winter leagues would have teams of 25, the Angling Times Winter League as it was then, and we'd have the Wards Gala and things like this on the Witham, where they'd have 1,000 entries. It's unheard of now. But then we also went on the tidal Trent, because North Clifton, Lauterton, places such as this were only sort of 10, 12 miles away. And so we learned the art of float fishing on moving water, and that has put me in good stead ever since. And it's still my favourite method of fishing is to actually fish either a stick float, a Wagner or a Bolognese on flowing water. It gives me a huge amount of satisfaction. I really, really enjoy it. And but it's by those early days, those early years, that we learned that skill. And it's still vitally important now. But I think the introduction to fishing for a lot of people now is via the pole. And I've actually done a little sort of tutorial this morning down at Manor Farm Leisure on the lakes, and I had somebody catching fish within 2-3 minutes of starting, just on a whip and a little rig. But the excitement that I saw in the child this morning was exactly the same excitement that I had fishing my little rod and reel then. So it's a magical sport for that. So anyway, back to the match fishing. Tim, both myself and my brother were part of the Lincoln Juvenile National side. And the first one I fished on was on the River Witham, as it transpired. And I managed to finish second in section out of a section of 80, which was fantastic. Really, I was really made up with it. But we started to win things as well. My brother won the Tom Sales, Tom Sales juvenile match, which was a very big one on the Witham. I was second in that one. And so we started to win, so much so that we were noticed by the adult anglers in the main side. So after sort of 2 or 3 years match fishing, both Tim and myself were invited to join the senior squad, and therefore fished the Angling Times Winter League at a very young age in the second team, because Lincoln had 2 sides of 25 each, and Barnsley had 2 sides of 25, Rotherham, places like this. These were huge matches. But it gave us a real, it gave us an experience of fishing, what it's like fishing on the big stage, shall we say. And we started to do well in this, and both myself and Tim used to always, and it was a target, we'd fish to win the section. If we drew brilliantly, we'd try and catch bream, but we weren't that experienced, so didn't necessarily do well. But we won a lot of sections and I remember distinctly fishing over the weed and catching a lot of small roach, and then targeting the eels, because there was maybe 5, 6, 7 years when you could actually win an open on the Witham on eels with up to 20 pounds of fish. And we not perfected it, but we certainly became experienced and quite good at the technique of fishing for eels. And certain anglers then in the day were so proficient at it and everything else. And I'm talking some names you'll remember, but there was Grant Butterfield, Maurice Thacker, Ted Burks was a brilliant eel angler. But possibly the man who gave me the most help and the most support during that time, who's sadly no longer with us, is Frank Butler. Now Frank basically ran Lincoln District Angling Association for many, many years until his death, which is probably 10 years ago now. But Frank was one of the only people, one of the few people to have fished for England, and I believe it was in 1958 he was selected to go to Hungary and fish the World Champs. So I'm, desperately want to fish a World Championship to emulate Frank. The other people that helped was, again, sadly no longer with us, is Roy Else. Now, Roy was He won the Division One, well, the national as it was then in '69, on the River Trent with 9 pounds of 9 pounds of roach. I've just had a question come in. Who is the better angler, you or your brother? Well, it'd be churlish of me to say, wouldn't it? But Tim's an incredibly proficient angler, and I doubt there's very much between us, except he did have quite a few years off. So I probably have greater chance on other venues that Tim, during his time not fishing, you know, he hasn't fished those venues. So I don't think there's much between us, but Tim is a very natural angler, Clive, and I could never say that my brother's better than me, surely. Anyway, I'll see Steve Lipsy Hughes is watching. Hi, Steve. And Mark Brush. Hi, Mark. Hope you're doing well. Be great to see some. Look at Mark Brush. I think Gloucester, Cheltenham angler, but the Gloucester Canal's been producing fantastic weights of fish on some areas and very little on others. But it's a great venue, and it's lovely to see all these people that are going out and getting back into it. And for me, I will wait till June the 16th now, until the rivers start, because it looks like all the matches will begin. So going back to experience in match fishing, so back into the Winter League sides, and it wasn't that long before we were involved in the national squad. Now it took me quite a long time to get into the side because we had such a great squad of anglers to pick from. But eventually we did. I think I fished. I don't know how many nationals I fish now. But in national championships, it's feast or famine with me. I've had some incredibly good results and some incredibly bad ones. And talking Mark Rush, I guested for Dyer Gordon League on the Trent, which I know inside out, and I drew a peg which had blanked in the previous national, and I believe I beat one person in the entire section with 15 ounces. I've just had another message from Clive, or a question from Clive. What is my most memorable match? Well, I have been fortunate. I've had some really good results. I've been second in the Division 1 National in 2005 on the Grand Union Canal, beaten only by a good friend of mine who I shall see later on, who's dropping some stuff on, Simon Fry. He won it in 2005. It was a memorable match, mainly for playing three carp for a long time before they broke me in a marina, but I did manage to land a 6 bream and 20 pounds, and so that was incredibly memorable. But I have to say the most memorable, because I was so driven to win it, and still am, was the Wychavon final 2 years ago, where I was fortunate enough to draw 86 behind the rugby club in Evesham, and had 3 large breams and roach to win by about 5. I think I had 17 pounds. I won by about 5 pounds that year. But as a river match angler, I can still remember that feeling, because I knew I'd won it before the end, because being peg 86, there's only one more person to weigh, and I heard all the weights coming through. But the acknowledgement of winning it was just tremendous, and my name's on that trophy, and that means more than the money I won or the money I won in the national. But there have been other very memorable matches. One of being last year, Burton Joyce in the Riverfest qualifier, when I drew basically on the rack outside the pub, told I'd have absolutely no chance, and it was my last Riverfest ticket, and it's a very important event to me. I've fished it I've only been fishing it for 3 years, but I've managed to qualify for the final in 3 years running. And I drew this nondescript peg, and I drew next to, what was his name? Gosh, an RAF angler. Anyway, he said, we'll catch 2 pounds if we're lucky. And he did. He caught 2 pounds, but fortunately I caught 18 pounds by fishing my favourite method on the Bolognese. And I was catching hand-sized skimmers, hybrids, perch 2.5 pounds, big roach. It's just the most perfect day's fishing. And the accolade was from Wayne Swinscoe, and he said that was just brilliant. And for Wayne, who's possibly the best running line angler I've ever met, to have that accolade for him, that's probably one of the truly memorable matches. And friends of mine qualified as well. Rob Casterton qualified along with me, and it was just a wonderful thing. The event, the final itself, was the usual. I didn't draw well, but I did manage to fluke an eel on day 2 to win my 250-pound section, and we were so unfortunate because the river level just wouldn't drop; it just kept rising and rising, and it's been incredibly wet winter, followed by an incredibly dry spring. I mean, it's 26 degrees outside here at Evesham. It's really hot. We've got 115 anglers on the fishery. It's just incredible, and now everything needs watering. The lakes have dropped 6 inches, and we thought that we'd never see them drop. Even the lakes were up 2 feet. So it's amazing how nature can change these things. And what made me settle in Evesham? Well, I was offered a job and took it with Zebco of Browning. At which point I needed to be more centrally based in the UK because I was travelling all the way down to and including the Channel Islands, all the southwest into South Wales, and then all the way up to just north of Birmingham. Now I was actually based in Lincoln at the time, but made a decision to move down and fell in love very quickly. And I'd already come down and fished Evesham quite a bit, but fell in love with Evesham. So I moved 10 miles away from Evesham, and I think it's probably the best move I've made. It's spectacular countryside. The fishing is so diverse. We've got some of the best commercials around. Superb rivers, superb canals. But for river match angling, Evesham still is very much a hotbed of river match anglers. And if you win at Evesham, if you win money at Evesham, you've done well because you've always got such a strong field. But then I upset the managing director of Zebco at the time because he thought one thing and I told him that he was wrong, and that didn't go down well. So we parted ways, and eventually I went back into tennis coaching. I'd been a tennis coach for many, many years. But then I was offered a job by Marukyu, the Japanese bait giant. And so I started with them. I ended up being general manager up until the point where Japan made a decision that they were going to pull out of the UK. But they were terrified of Brexit, etc., etc. And so they closed. At this point, I'd already obtained a tackle shop at Manor Farm Leisure. And since then, I thought, well, when the Marukyu situation changed, then and the job, I was left without a job. I thought, right, it's time to dedicate myself to the shop. So I doubled the size of the shop. I've turned it into what is quite a specialised match shop, stocking as many of the brands as I can get accounts for. But I do a lot of niche things. Your Tubertini hooks. I do a lot of the Simon Wilsmore, the Mark Pollards, the Dave Harrells, huge amounts of sensors, a lot of Colmick, a lot of Browning, and it does very well. But it's really interesting because since the lockdown has eased, my buying has changed incredibly because there are so many new anglers coming into the sport. And so I've had to get, I shudder to think in 2 weeks how many landing net poles I've done, how many elasticated whips, how many sort of beginner sets, and set them up properly for these guys so that when they actually fish, they enjoy it. And so, basically that's what's happened. My shop is developing. I've got the England under 20s, and Clive's asked me how long. It was April this year that I was appointed, and very sadly, obviously, the COVID-19 situation prevented anything from happening. But my love of junior fishing goes back to when I was a junior, because I can remember it distinctly. I remember Mum taking us everywhere. I remember the first results we got in match fishing. I remember the buzz it gave me. But equally, there hasn't been, over the past, say, 30 years, huge amounts of support for junior fishing. But I'm still passionate about it. I'm patron of Evesham Youth. I've always tried to teach children, good practice, and the right way to do it. And having worked as a tennis coach for so many years, the ability to teach is within me, whether it's verbally, whether it's visually. And I truly believe that in every sport, whatever it's hockey, cricket, football, whatever, we produce some of the most talented kids but they don't always have a pathway through to performance level without spending a lot of money. So I like to think that we can develop, and now there seems such it's a groundswell of interest in juniors, and now over the country there's some superb angling coaches, and there's so many driven people out there, some of which are parents, some of which are professionals. We've had great support from Guru. Their pathway is incredible. Census donate money towards the England under-20s. There is a lot of support, but you've got to make it accessible for children. Now, obviously, you can fish for £20, but you've really got to invest in gear. It's very, very expensive. And if you're going to perform at the highest level, then you've got to have adequate equipment to do that. So I'm always putting myself out there, please, any donations. And it's incredible the amount of generous donations I've had. I've probably got 3 poles here now that I will pass on to juniors: seat boxes, rods, reels. So even though a lot of people themselves don't necessarily want to get involved in helping juniors because they may not have time, they have family commitments, they're more than willing to give me stuff to hand on to juniors, which as a businessman I think, well, perhaps I shouldn't do it, but I do because I'm incredibly passionate about it. And I think we'll then be able to feed in from the under-20s into then the under-25s. I've had so many, help offered by Tom Hobbs, by Rory Jones, who's #1 in the world under-25s. And Clive, you ask, is it too early to ask if there are any future world champs in the squad? There are definitely world champions, and I'll be amazed if we don't have in the under-20s now. I'll be amazed if one of those doesn't become world champion. Yes, as a team, definitely, and as an individual, definitely, providing the draw is right. But ability-wise, we've got so many people. You've got your Callum Jennings, who was second in the world 2 years ago in Italy. Hopefully he'll move through. We've got Josh Newman, definite world champion in the making. There are so many names to mention, all who have that ability. And now, because there is a lot more interest and a lot more support in junior fishing, then yes, without a doubt, there will be world champions produced from that. So I think it's incredibly exciting, because now, I think when I was a junior, there wasn't a junior world champ squad. Whether I'd have made it then, who knows? Probably not. But what I do know is now that the under-50s, under-20s, under-25s, there's a true pathway now to the adult squad. And whether that ends up just fishing fishing the home nations, fishing the Euros, fishing the Worlds, it's an incredibly exciting time. And the rewards of it are not just financial, the passion. And I was thinking about, I was watching Tommy yesterday, and Tommy Pickering is still one of the most passionate, driven anglers I have ever seen in my life. Great guy, depth of knowledge, works tirelessly to help everybody, whether they're kids or whether they're adults. And a former world champion himself in a world championship winning side. How you couldn't have a better ambassador than people like Tom, and like Alan. When Alan finally gives up the fishing for England by choice, obviously, because you couldn't drop him. And then I think that there's so much expertise now in angling as a sport, and it's gone to such a technical level now. It's unbelievable. But the beauty of it is you can still tie some 3-pound line to a bamboo stick, get a barbless hook and a little float, and catch fish. And that is the beauty. It's a sport accessible for everybody. It doesn't matter what creed, what colour, what social background, what financial background they come from. Because I've had children come to me, even when I haven't had stuff donated. I have given them stuff from the shop because I want to see them fishing. And I will continue to do that if that's what's required. As far as I've had questions about Evesham matches and festivals still on track this year, well, I had a meeting 2 weeks ago with Diana Raphael and with her son Rob, and yes, everybody is incredibly hopeful that yes, it will go ahead. I think the social distancing element we can overcome in matches, well, in open matches, in Evesham qualifiers. Yes, we can do that. The difficulty comes, and I've spoken to Sean Ashby at length about this, is the tented village. So we have to, no decisions have been, as I'm aware, been made yet. It certainly hasn't been cancelled. There certainly will be matches. Whether you're qualifying for the traditional Evesham final, who knows? Hopefully I will know a little more next week. It'll be so disappointing if it isn't, because it is such a date on the calendar that, I mean, it's been an incredibly successful, and still is an incredibly successful festival. And it's still the one that for me, as a river match angler, I aspire to qualify for the Evesham finals and win them, as I do for the Riverfest final. And I know there's now a sort of River North qualifying matches and things, which unfortunately I didn't buy any tickets for, because at the time my shop had closed, I hadn't got any money, and I was fairly uncertain what was going to go ahead. So, I think it's a case of watching this space. We've certainly got, providing we do it properly, providing we do it professionally, and then match fishing has got a future which we didn't. Simon Wilsmore's just sent me a message. Ballabini are coming back in stock. Happy days. I was just out of Ballabini shop. So I think, if we behave ourselves professionally, and I really think we must do, then I think we've got every chance of continuing the open matches. I say it's only the larger gatherings which sort of festivals create, or the Evesham Tented Village and things like this, that's going to be difficult. But I'm still very I'm still very hopeful. But I will report back as soon as I hear anything else about that. I do want to talk to you again, just going back to the juniors, that if you know of any juniors that want to learn, who are within striking distance of Evesham, then as soon as I'm allowed to, I will restart my free junior coaching lessons. And we did this with great success last year. We had Mick Bull came down, great commercial angler. Rory Jones came to help, etc., etc. We had some great helpers. Mike Conway from Canal and River Trust, and that's what I want to reinstate. And whilst I teach professionally and charge for that, as far as junior group coaching goes, that will be and will remain free of charge. Hi Steve, nice to see you again, mate. So please do put them in touch with me. I will be going up to help Kev Holvey at some point once I'm allowed to do that, because Kev Holvey up in Yorkshire, what a job he's doing. I mean, brilliant. Former Barnsley Black, puts so much into junior fishing. Great man, great angler, and what an ambassador for junior fishing. He couldn't do more. And he again gets huge amounts of tackle donated to him that are passed on to juniors, which is really, it's fantastic. So well done, Kev, and that isn't patronising at all. He's doing a fantastic job. I mean, the thing is, I think the thing with match angling is it's such a community, isn't it? We all know people up in, Tyneside, and we'll know people that live down in Penzance, and people that Steve Harbour was watching. I need to phone you, Steve, actually. In Oxford, everybody knows everybody, and the information available to us now to improve our own match fishing, and I like to think I can still improve a huge amount. It's there for us. When I was growing up, we'd have the huge broadsheet of the Angling Times and Angler's Mail as it was then, and that was pretty much it. But now we've got, the videos, the YouTube. They've still got printed media. We've got Facebook. The information is there. There's almost no excuse now for bad practice, and yet it does make me wonder when I do see some anglers who've been fishing for a while and they obviously don't look at things. But my advice is, I'm not trying to sell lessons, but have a look at what there is available to you. If there's something I don't understand, I will research it and I'll try and find out a way of doing it better. And hi Steve, I'm very well, mate. I hope you're okay. And so advise people and even beginners. Whilst there's nothing like going on the water side and learning to read the water, then begin by having a look what it needs for you to set up, how much it costs. It doesn't have to cost a fortune, but just learn about the basics and improve on those basics, and then focus on a couple of things, because we'll all have the ability, natural ability to pick up some things faster than we pick up other things. So really hone those skills, and then spend time on that, develop that skill, and then build the other skills on top. And before long, you've got a library in your head of knowledge about what you need to do technically. Obviously, technique and tactics, they're tied together, but also watercraft. That does take a lot of time. But I would say to people, well, where would you live if you're a fish? Why would you want to be there? And then you can actually help them, help everybody improve their fishing. Pete Coleman's watching. Hi, Pete. Nice guy, lovely guy. Pete, I have got I've got somebody working on those shattered pole sections for you now, so it shouldn't take too long. Do we have any more questions coming in that I haven't answered? No? Is your walk through the pegs at Evesham still available to watch, please? Miles, it's still on my Facebook page as far as I'm aware, and you can go back to it. As soon as I have time, I'm going to set up my YouTube channel, because the problem is at the moment things have gone absolutely mad at the shop, and I'm delighted to say that, but I just don't have enough hours in the day to physically do it. But yes, there'll be a YouTube channel set up, and every video I have done will ultimately end up on there, including this one if Clive allows me to. But talking of Clive, and you think of the wonderful match anglers that we've been, it's still absolutely memorable, Clive, and I bet you can remember the second you became world champion. Champion of the world is never taken away from you, but neither is champion of your own club. If you become club champion, never forget it, because it helps you develop and go further on as an angler. So match angling to me, whilst I've had periods when I haven't done a lot, because Miles put it, better busy than not, absolutely. Yeah, you're right there, Miles, better. But match angling to me is still important. I've had years when at the birth of my children, when I took a year away from match fishing, when the birth of my son and my daughter. But I've always come back to it. But I've also had entire winters pike fishing. But match fishing has been in my blood, remains in my blood. Clive says, is my shop open now for business? Yes, Clive, it is. It's click and collect. I'm open from 7:30 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's 7 days a week. But it is click and collect. So if people want to order, my telephone number is 07557 025 120. My email address is anglingessentials@outlook.com, and that is the contact for me for both the shop, any advice I can give you on the fishery, any advice I can give you as an angler, and if you want to book lessons, anything like that, then just contact me on those numbers. So it's 07557 025 120. Okay. So yes, the shop is incredibly busy. I'm getting fresh bait every other day. I'll be up at collecting bait again first thing in the morning, just about out of maggot for today. But again, by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'll be fully stocked. But it is interesting now that the new anglers, and I think as anglers we need to encourage all the new people coming into the sport so that they decide that angling is for them. And it's gratifying to see a lot more families coming, a lot more children, and a lot more girls, a lot more females taking it up and being just as excited about fishing as we guys are. Tom Hobbs is watching. Hi Tom, I saw you at the weekend, and met your lovely wife. One of the great guys in angling, Tom. He's offered to help with the England under-20, so thank you, mate. I will be taking you up on that. Hopefully 2021's already in the can. We're already starting to look at it. So yes, that is something I'd like your help for, please. Hello, Phil. Phil Cook's watching. I hope you're well, mate. far as matches resuming at Manor Farm, just because I'm asked all the time, we have club bookings that we'll be honouring from the middle of June as far as matches go. We're not going to yet begin open matches, and that is because we are so busy with pleasure anglers at the moment. And there are lots of other venues that are running matches. We've made a decision that it's not yet our time to actually begin open matches again. They'll happen in due course. Club match bookings will be honoured from the middle of June, and onwards and upwards from there. We do have to be so very careful that we do it right, because the last thing we want is a lockdown. What did I say, Clive? Can you type the information when you finish this podcast, Howard, for the viewers? Yes, of course, I will do. A very good friend of mine, good angler, Dean Hancock's just received a government letter saying my mid-July lockdown has been reduced to June. Oh, good. Then I better supply you with your product that I still owe you then, Dean. But that is great news, mate. He was desperately unhappy about having to wait till mid-July to fish. But good, it's going to be mid-June. So that's great, Dean. That's really good. I will be publishing details of anything that I've mentioned today, so I can help you with that ongoing. Any help I can give you on any aspect, any help you believe I can give you on any aspect of fishing, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm terribly sorry, I'm going to have to go now because I have to be somewhere else at 3 o'clock. But I'd just like to say to Clive, thank you very much, really enjoyed it. Thank you everybody that's watched it and everybody that will watch it, in the fullness of time. I think so many people are fishing today that we haven't had so many viewers, but that will change. I say I'm here to help. I remain passionate and I'll always do my best for you. So guys, please stay safe, enjoy your fishing, do it right, and let's keep this COVID-19 away now, and we're certainly on the right path for that. But thank you again, and I hope to meet you all soon. Okay, all the very best. Cheers, bye.